Hi there, my name is Dr. Tanner Melnick, physical therapist and running specialist here at Movement Rehab and Performance. Now that you've completed the metabolic test, I'm going to review the values that were provided to you at the end of the test so that in case you forget or you just want to reference going forward, you can always review and return to this video for a refresher. Completing a metabolic fitness test can be very impactful, but it only has the power to be impactful if you understand the results of the test and their relation to training. I'm going to review not only what is occurring in the body at each of these values, but also what it means for your training. The first value listed is Ventilatory Threshold 1, also known as VT1. This value is the heart rate at which there is a switch in fuel source from fat being the main fuel source to carbohydrates. This occurs when the breakdown of fat can no longer provide the energy needed fast enough, so carbs have to take over as they can be broken down quicker. Now, this is defined as the point at when carbs become greater than 50% of the fuel source and does not mean that fat is not being used at all. At this point, the body is starting to produce some energy anaerobically, meaning without oxygen. When this happens, small amounts of lactate begin to accumulate in the body, but it is in amounts that are relatively small, so you can sustain this for a long duration, think multiple hours. This value is important for training because it denotes the top end of where your easy training should be taking place, often referred to as an intensity where you can maintain a conversation. Going above this value means you are no longer in the easy zone. Training below this value will help you improve your fat utilization and overall endurance. The second value listed is Ventilatory Threshold 2, or VT2. This value is the heart rate at which the production of lactate from the anaerobic, again meaning without oxygen, energy system outpaces the body's ability to clear the lactate. This point may also be called the anaerobic threshold. There is a shift to higher percentage of energy coming from the anaerobic energy system here. When this threshold has been crossed, there is a rapid accumulation of lactate in the body, and this process leads to a peak in exercise intensity quickly and acts as a kind of high-end limit that cannot be pushed beyond. Working above this threshold means that you're going to be in your top training zone, and this level of intensity can only be sustained for short bursts and is reserved for short sprints and other kind of high-end work. Training at this intensity can improve your fatigue resistance, which can translate to improved performance during events when you're going to be pushing your body, such as during a race. The next value listed is heart rate max. This is the highest heart rate value that was achieved during the test. Typically, when training with heart rate zones, the zones are percentages based off heart rate max, which, without completing a peak exertional test, is just a theoretical maximum based on your age. It has been shown that the true heart rate max can vary widely from person to person, in part based on the type of training that you complete. So it is good to have an idea of what your peak is in order to have an achievable range for your top zone. The final value listed is the VO2 Peak or VO2 Max, which is the highest VO2 value or volume of oxygen per body weight per minute achieved during the test. One goal of the test is to achieve this maximal value, which can be one indicator of overall cardiorespiratory fitness. This value carries importance because during endurance sports, we rely on consuming oxygen to use in the production of energy for the body. If you can consume more oxygen, your body can perform at higher intensities while still being able to meet the oxygen needs of your body without having to switch to less efficient anaerobic energy systems, as mentioned earlier. This value does have a large genetic component in that some people are going to naturally be more inclined to having a higher VO2 max value. This number can be influenced and improved through training, but even with changes in the value, it does not mean that performance is directly linked to the value. There are other factors that go into the ultimate performance during a test or during a race, but VO2 does have a large role to play and can be a way to track progress over time by completing a VO2 test at various points during the training cycle or year over year to assess the effectiveness of your training and allowing you to continually tweak your training based on your results. So, just to review those four values again, we have Ventilatory Threshold 1, which is going to serve as the heart rate value at the top of your easy zone. Ventilatory Threshold 2, which denotes the heart rate at which you switch into your top training zone, which can improve your fatigue resistance. Heart rate max, which is the highest heart rate that you achieve during the test. And then VO2 peak or VO2 max, which is the peak amount of oxygen that you consume during the test and is a marker for tracking and comparing cardio fitness over time. Hopefully, after completing the test, you feel more empowered with the new information provided and see how you can tweak your training to maximize the benefits you're receiving from your training and also improve your overall fitness and performance. Now, completing the test once is useful, but completing the test on a regular basis is where the power of the test truly is realized. After you get your test results from your first test and begin to tweak your training accordingly, your values will change over time, and therefore in order to continue to have the most effective training, you should be getting a follow-up test or update your values on a regular basis to help you achieve your fitness goals. If you want to schedule another metabolic test or have more questions on testing or training, please click the link below, and as always, happy running.